I'm Nick Brown, a resident of Walden Lake, a 2,200 home community located in Plant City, Florida. Last year's video, Walden Lake Future, presented a much needed backup plan for the failed Walden Lake Country Club. This presentation builds upon last year's video by establishing 3 association rules, that is, guidelines on what is acceptable and what is out of bounds for the future of the country club. These rules are meaningless unless they are supported by the majority of association members. I need to hear from you, a lot of you, on where you stand. Our homeowners association must assign top priority to setting some rules for the future of the country club. We've got to come together as a community. I have indicated 3 rules which I believe best serve to guide our association's future dealings with both the club owner and the city representatives. I will discuss each of these rules in detail in the slides to follow. Once the facts are known, you will see that these rules are so basic as to be taken for granted. Let me add at this point that the rules are only one part of the association reorganization necessary to successfully deal with the country club crisis. The demands are too great to be handled by the board committee with a business as usual approach. Before beginning a discussion of the recommended rules, let me tell you why they are required. Despite the fact that our well-being is intimately tied to that of the country club, the association has never established mutually supportive ties with the club owner. For years, we benefited from proximity to the club while offering no support. We failed to acknowledge the simple fact that benefits come with costs, that there is no free lunch. If we fail to establish some guidelines for the future of the club, we will suffer years of grief as a succession of speculators lead us through a marathon of rezoning attempts, efforts designed to pick our pockets. In addition, if we don't establish some rules for the future club dealings, we may end up with a city establishing a solution for us, a result that may prove to be a bitter pill. Our first rule is no residential development infill. Let me be quite clear that the development I am referring to is residential construction on the former golf courses, about houses and roads running up and down former fairways. I am not referring to much needed renovation or replacement of the existing clubhouse, fitness, and swimming facilities. Because of the critical nature of this rule, I am going to provide detailed background information in the indicated areas on the next 3 slides. Taken together, these 3 areas present an impenetrable development gauntlet. Development will not succeed. It cannot even get off the ground. In the 1980s, WCI put together a plan for Walden Lake. 2,200 home sites laid out around 2 18-hole golf courses. The golf courses were built around wetlands, providing for stormwater runoff. Runoff control was enhanced by grading fairways and digging out ponds for storage. The country club is bounded by neighborhoods, each with its own distinctive character as well as provisions for privacy and security. Infill development would blur the lines between these neighborhoods, destroying these features. WCI's design for Walden Lake roads did not provide for the large increases in rush hour traffic loads resulting from infill development. Finally, residents of Walden Lake should not be subjected to years of construction woes, air and waterborne pollution, noise, traffic snarls, earth moving hazards. Simply put, Walden Lake's infrastructure is inadequate to support infill development. The club's critical role in stormwater control is illustrated by the fact that Vision's 130-acre section drained an additional 120 acres of association homeowners' property. Vision submitted a drainage report with results for the 100-year storm. Prior to development, Gulf Pond water level increased 4 feet in height, growing from 11 to 34 acres, a wide band stretching across the fairways. Walden Lake grew from 63 to 123 acres, flooding homeowners in fairway woods. Development runoff was handled by an imaginary pond created by digging out the entire lake's number 3 fairway up to 20 feet deep, a preposterous scheme that also failed to account for ground level water table. With the exception of about 10 acres near the clubhouse and the driving range, the minimum water table depth over the remaining course area is 0 inches. Obviously, runoff detention ponds are not feasible in these areas. One final word on stormwater. The 100-year storm yields 11 inches of rain in 24 hours. Storms dumping 2 to 3 times as much rain have been recorded lately. Harvey in Texas in 2017, and Michael in North Carolina this year. Let us now consider traffic issues. In Vision's plan, the weak link was the Clubhouse Timber Lane intersection. AM rush hour traffic turning left from secondary Clubhouse onto primary Timber Lane declined from a C to an F. That's F as in failing rating. After rebukes from the EPC on their initial plan to fill in wetlands, Vision's revised plan called for a road snaking around the wetlands, a sort of flyover design that was nothing more than a fanciful cartoon. Arsenic is worrying failed golf course owners all over Florida. Prior to a 2009 DEP ban, the Arsenal herbicide MSMA was widely used on golf greens. Now you can play golf on it, but you can't build roads or houses on it. It must be removed and disposed of at a hazardous waste treatment facility. Seminole County is doing exactly that after purchasing Rolling Hills Golf Club for use as a park. Remediation work is budgeted at $1.5 million, but actual costs may run much higher. Sinkholes present another obstacle to development. About 10 years ago, a large sinkhole appeared near the lake's number 2 green. Water from Gulf Lake rushed into the gaping cavity in a greenside bunker. Later, extensive sinkhole remediation work was done on a home in neighboring Laurel Lake. Development, excavating, grading, and compacting operations all present potential triggers for sinkhole operations. Shortly after Visions applied for rezoning, the city planning and zoning manager wrote a letter detailing specific application items to be added to the standard 10 city code requirements. The added requirements were tough, especially the stormwater provisions. These rezoning requirements will have to be met by any future applicant to protect both homeowners and the city from foreseeable adverse impacts. Now, we know that rezoning will not be approved, but for argument's sake, let's assume that the go-ahead is given. The development bar is raised dramatically during the design phase prior to issuance of building permits. City design codes for roads and foundations specify minimum heights above the water table, clearances that must be achieved by regrading or trucking in fill dirt, except this would likely result in increased runoff to neighbors. If Vision's plan had gotten approval, Timber Lane drivers would be patiently waiting at a new traffic light at the Clubhouse Timber Lane intersection while infill residents stream by on their way to work. I could go on and on with building permit hurdles, but what's the point? Things will never get that far. In summary, there will be no development. The club wasn't designed for it. It's a violation of our implied rights. Technical difficulties are showstoppers. Rezoning requirements cannot be met. Building permits will never be issued. 4 years ago, our community was united against development. 1,600 residents signed a petition opposing Vision's rezoning application. Association adoption of Rule 1 is consistent with this position. Closing the association door to land speculators facilitates dealings with prospective club buyers seeking to restore club amenities. Rule 2 is that the association will ready itself to take over ownership of the club if abandoned. Even if you do not agree with the likelihood of club abandonment, you must be prepared for its possibility. The city will not maintain the property while issuing worthless liens indefinitely. If the association is not prepared to step in and relieve the city of this burden, Walden Lake will likely be incorporated into something akin to a community development district. Responsibility for property maintenance and required infrastructure improvements. Association residents could end up paying for mowing, stormwater system upgrades, road maintenance. Who knows where it will end? A year ago, 75 association members responded to the Walden Lakes Future Plan. 62 members, that's 83%, wanted plant provisions on the ballot at the 2018 annual meeting. Now, our association board may have better ways of financing acquisition and maintenance of the club, but whatever their plan, they have a fiduciary responsibility to protect our home values by having an abandonment contingency plan in place. Rule 3 is that while opposing developers, we will stand ready to financially assist any would-be club owners seeking to restore country club operations. This requires a 180-degree U-turn by the association from its traditional attitude of benign neglect of the club. In last year's Walden Lake Future video, I reported that an unbearable annual subsidy of $600,000 would be required from the association to support an 18-hole golf operation. I still believe that this to be true for a standalone golf operations, but the owner may have plans to incorporate full club amenities, substantially reducing this figure. Any subsidy would require supermajority approval by the association membership, and this could present a huge stumbling block unless the club subsidy is kept low. The association should consider at least reimbursing the owner for mowing costs. Now let's consider another possibility for raising money to restore club amenities. I'm referring to the sale of association property. Our association owns 2 large parcels of land listed as conservation areas. The first parcel measures 38 acres and is located behind O'Brien's restaurant. The second parcel is 75 acres, now occupied by the sports complex and dog park. At least one developer has indicated interest in these parcels, development that would yield our association enough money to rebuild the golf course and the clubhouse. We should initiate a feasibility study on the potential sale of these properties. I am requesting each association member to send out 2 emails. Firstly, email 5 neighbors asking them to watch this video, Walden Lake Rules. Secondly, email me at wlrules@yahoo.com with the indicated information. Your yes/no responses to questions 1, 2, and 3 indicate where you stand on the rules presented herein. I strongly urge you to vote yes on all 3. For rules 2 and 3, assume an upper limit of $240,000 a year on what you would be willing to pay. This amounts to less than $10 per month per homeowner. Finally, I'd like to see the association board discuss the material I have presented and vote on adoption of the 3 rules. I also encourage my fellow association members to attend and take an active part in board meetings. The future is in your hands. Thank you for watching.